Hello viewers, I am Dr. G. Littleflower, HOD, Department of Physics, Stella College, Vijayawada. Happy to welcome you all to this talk on Madam Marie Curie, Illuminating the Invisible. Being a woman and being a physics teacher, I am so excited to speak about her contributions in the field of nuclear physics, especially in radioactivity. So before starting, let me say a brief introduction about her. Her original name was Maria Skolodowska. Later she changed her name to Mary. She was born on November 7th, 1867 and grew up in Warsaw, a Russian-controlled Poland. She was the fifth and the youngest child. Her parents were teachers. They valued education deeply. Due to financial hardships, she worked as a governess. Governess job means it's like a tuition teacher. She had to teach children of wealthier families to read, write and acquire special skills in mathematics. In those days, women were not allowed access to higher education in Poland, but Mary was determined to pursue higher education and faced a lot of challenges. She attended the clandestine Flying University in Warsaw, which accepted female students and functioned very secretly. Maybe these students would act as if they are employees there, but they studied. She began practical scientific training in Warsaw and graduated with a gold medal for academic excellence in 1883. Let me brief about her life in Paris. In 1891, she moved to Paris and studied chemistry, mathematics and physics. Here only she changed her name from Maria to the French version of her name, Marie. She faced extreme poverty that many times she fainted due to hunger. She met Pierre Curie, who was an instructor in the School of Physics and Chemistry. Pierre Curie was so admiring the research aptitude of Marie, and he came forward to provide a large laboratory space for her to carry out her research work. On 26 July 1895, Marie and Curie got married. She was so hailing from a poor background that she was not able to even buy a wedding bridal dress. Instead, she wore her lab garment itself. They too had two daughters, Irene and Eve. This is the couple, Pierre Curie and Marie Curie. In 1895, Roentgen discovered the existence of X-rays. He is Roentgen. In 1896, Henry Becquerel discovered that uranium salts emitted rays that resembled X-rays. Marie was inspired and influenced by these two discoveries, and she decided to choose uranium rays as a possible field of research. This way she got entered into nuclear physics. In 1898, husband and wife, both of them discovered two new elements called polonium and radium. She named polonium after her native Poland. Using Pierre's electrometer, Marie discovered that the rays coming out of uranium caused the air around a sample to conduct electricity. All of us know that air is an insulator, but the air around the uranium sample conducted electricity. This was a surprise discovery for her. This is the uranium ore, and why the air around uranium started conducting electricity. When she analyzed, she put forward a hypothesis. The radiation from uranium was not the outcome of some interaction of molecules or atoms, but definitely these radiations must come from within the atom itself. So this idea was a great contradiction in those days, because Around 1900, scientists believed that atom was the fundamental elementary particle which is building the entire matter in the universe, and atom was indivisible, whereas Marie's hypothesis stated that the U rays coming out of uranium must be from within the atom. That means atom is divisible. So this concept brought a lot of contradictions among the scientists, and Curie studies included two uranium minerals called pitchblende and chalcolite. So with the electrometer, when she tested these two minerals of uranium, she found that pitchblende was 4 times active as uranium itself, and chalcolite was twice as active as uranium. She was so surprised why the minerals of uranium could be so active than uranium itself. So she concluded that these two minerals must contain some other substance which must be responsible for additional radioactivity. She began to make a research for additional substances that emit radiation, and by 1898 she discovered that the element thorium was present in these two minerals of uranium, and thorium also was radioactive. The couple, along with Becquerel, won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work on radioactivity in 1903. So usually the Nobel Prize winners would be given great amount. So this couple was so motivated that they hired their first laboratory assistant with this award money. Later, she headed the Radium Institute. Now it is called by her name, called Curie Institute, a radioactive laboratory created for her by the Pasteur Institute and the University of Paris. You could see the institute here. Tragically, in 1906, Pierre died in a street accident which devastated Marie to greater extent. But somehow she picked up her spirit and enthusiasm once again, and she was decided to continue her research work in the field of radioactivity. She succeeded him as the first female professor at the Sorbonne University. After 1910, what happened? Let me narrate here. In 1910, Marie Curie succeeded in isolating radium. She also defined an international standard for radioactive emissions that was eventually named for her and Curie. So they named that unit to be the Curie. That means whenever radioactivity radiations take place, they tell that so many Curies. The radiation was so many Curies. That level is measured with a unit called Curie. In 1911, Marie won her second Nobel Prize. So surprising, no? She won her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for isolating radium and studying its properties. So during World War I, she developed mobile X-ray units known as Pétain's Curies to assist battlefield surgeons in locating the bullets found in the affected soldiers. So she, along with her daughter Irene, aided doctors in treating over 1 million soldiers, significantly advancing medical care during the World War. But Marie was not aware of the consequences of getting exposed to radioactivity, because that was a very new concept, very new innovation, and she was not aware of it, and she never followed any safety measures. So due to that, she was exposed to prolonged exposure to radiations emanating from these radioactive materials like uranium, radium, thorium and all. Curie's research notebooks are still radioactive and almost a century after her death, and are stored in lead-lined boxes. We know it starts with uranium, and the radioactivity from the minerals will be stopping, when that material is converted into lead. So lead can stop the radioactivity. So all her books were packed in lead-lined boxes. They will likely remain radioactive for another 1500 years. On 4th July 1934, Mary died at the age of 66 from aplastic anemia believed to have been contracted from her long-term exposure to radiation, which destroyed her bone marrow cells. Curie was buried in a lead-lined coffin. Once again, her body contained lot of radiations, so she was buried in a lead-lined coffin because she absorbed so much radiations during her life. In 1995, Marie Curie's remains were interred in the Panthéon in Paris, making her the first woman to be honored there for her own achievements. Let me narrate some notable facts about Marie Curie. She kept a sample of radium, which she isolated from the minerals, by her bedside as a nightlight. This itself tells how she was ignorant about the bad consequences of getting exposed to these radiations. She coined the term radioactivity. She was the only woman among 24 attendees at the prestigious Solvay conference in 1911, where she interacted with Albert Einstein, the scientist of the millennium. Even after becoming a French citizen, Curie retained her Polish identity. She hired a governess to teach her daughters Polish and would visit her homeland. Her life depicted realities of two fiercely independent women. One is before marriage and the other is after marriage. Before marriage, she was struck with poverty and underwent huge stress and struggles. After marriage, she met Pierre Curie and got married, and she had a phosphorescent life in France. So when I call the word phosphorescent life in France, a similar word called fluorescence, and another light phenomena is phosphorescence. Why here they call as phosphorescence? Phosphorescent life. It has a meaning. Fluorescence means you would have seen on the roads orange color strips placed at the middle of the road as a road divider, or at the edge of the roads where any walls are there or any deep spots are there, they would keep the red strips. So whenever the headlight of the car or bus falls on the red strip, they give out the red light, indicating there is a divider or that is the end of the road. Okay, so these strips, this phenomena is called fluorescence. When light falls, they emit the light. When light goes off, the vehicle crosses, there won't be any light coming out of those orange strips. So this is due to the phenomena called fluorescence. Phosphorescence means that during the day, that material will absorb the daylight, and during night, when the light source is absent, these minerals will continue to emit light. This is what called phosphorescence. So for Marie, Pierre Curie was the source of light, and she continued the same spirit even after his death. That's why they say the parallel phosphorescent life. But both versions of Marie were dedicated to work, love and family. She managed to excel as a woman existing in a very male-dominated world, faced a lot of obstacles in her own personal and professional life, but turned them to her own happiness and success. Her achievements include that she got her education where women were not allowed access to higher education. She worked as a governess in Poland to earn money to support her education. Marie was the only first woman to win the Nobel Prize, but also the first person to win it twice, and first person to win Nobel Prizes in two different fields, physics and chemistry. Mary's daughter Irene also won Nobel Prize in Chemistry in the year 1935 along with her husband. Her other daughter Eve's husband Henry Lebois, who won Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of UNICEF in 1965. So from Marie Curie's family, almost all of them got the Nobel Prizes. This is another striking fact. The only person who didn't receive Nobel Prize was her second daughter Eve, but she was a famous writer. Marie Curie's face is printed now in Poland currencies. There is a film about Marie Curie by Mervyn Leroy. Eve Curie wrote the biography of her mother, Marie Curie. Now, I want to highlight telling each one of you should be the first and be the best. Be the first and be the best. Marie Curie was the first woman who got the degree in physics. She was the first woman to graduate in France. She was the first woman to obtain Nobel Prize. She was the first woman to obtain a chair at the Sorbonne. The first woman to get 2 Nobel Prizes. She was the first person to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different fields, physics and chemistry. She promoted the use of radium. She developed methods for the separation of radium from radioactive residues in sufficient quantities to allow for its characterization and its properties. Marie Curie's dedication to science, her groundbreaking discoveries, and her resilience in facing the personal and professional challenges make her life an extraordinary story of passion and perseverance. Let me also narrate, if Marie was not adversely affected by prolonged radiation exposure, what would have happened? She would have advanced nuclear physics research. She would have discovered additional radioactive isotopes for medical use. She would have refined radiation therapy techniques for cancer treatment. She would have designed safety practices when handling radioactive substances, benefiting both medical professionals and patients. Her research might have accelerated the understanding of nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, impacting the development of nuclear energy. She would have mentored more students and research scholars, potentially shaping a generation of scientists to make significant contributions. She would have promoted international scientific collaborations, promoting the open exchange of scientific knowledge. Many women candidates especially would have been inspired to pursue careers in science and academia, possibly accelerating gender equity in these fields, thus profoundly impacting both the scientific community and society at large. Even today, at a global level, gender equality is not yet achieved. So maybe a leading women scientist, if she had continued to live for some more years, this disparity would have been reduced much. Now, takeaway lessons from this talk. Currently, we are exposed to radiation through various sources. So when we fall sick, or nowadays doctors are suggesting to go for regular medical checkup once in a year or once in 2 years, and especially when you are above 45, they recommend repeated checkups every year. So when we go for it, we are asked to take up X-rays of our lungs and so many other scans. So these repeated medical imaging exposures like X-rays, CT angiogram scans, etc. can increase the risk of radiation-induced effects over time. Actually, doctors use as low as reasonably achievable quantity only for diagnosing purpose, but still repeatedly taking up such imaging exposures will cause illness to us. Alternative methods like ultrasound scans or MRI scan may be appropriate and very safe. Now, environmental exposure also. So we are getting exposed to the UV radiation of the sunlight. So when we know that we are going in the sun or when we work long hours in the sun, it is better to use some sunscreen lotions so that the UV radiations would not affect us. Okay, and also radon is a naturally occurring radioactive gas that can accumulate in homes, particularly in basement floors and ground floors. Prolonged exposure to high radon levels increase the risk of lung cancer. Electromagnetic fields from devices. This is very dangerous, which unknowingly and by all means, all of us are exposed to electromagnetic radiations, especially these days. Mobile phones, tablets, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth emit low-level non-ionizing radiation, which is not strong enough to damage our DNA directly, but prolonged exposure will affect our normal health. So we have to be careful repeatedly from government side and NGOs. They warn us that usage of mobile phones and all, Bluetooth and all definitely would affect our health. But in spite of that also, we continue to use for long hours in a day. So we should be careful, otherwise our health would be affected. Madam Curie didn't know the after effect of the radiation exposure, so she died at the age of 66. But many warnings, many things make us to be serious enough to avoid such exposures and protect our health. Radiation exposure from consumer products. Nowadays we have multiple halls and PV malls and multiple storied buildings. So usually they install smoke detectors to protect the building from fire accidents. From these smoke detectors also, small amounts of radioactive material would be present and they would be radiating. But usually when they design such smoke detectors, they would have taken all safety measures, but still we getting exposed to them, we should avoid. Then nowadays wherever we go, malls or airport or any big shops, they use theaters, they use this security scanners. Security screening devices emit minimal radiation well within safety measures, but longer exposure is dangerous. So all the time, just for time pass going into the mall or cinema hall, very frequently we are getting exposed to radioactive dangerous radiations. Residences near mining or hills may expose us to radiation, so better we avoid buying houses near mining areas or hilly areas, because that the rocks will be containing some radioactive minerals from which we will be exposed to radiations. Responsible use of technology. A new term has come, device etiquette. In soft skills we learn many etiquettes. Now a new etiquette also is being added, device etiquette, encouraging moderation in the use of electronic devices and promoting activities that don't involve screens. Right? When I talk now, I use the laptop screen. When we use mobile, we use a mobile screen. So wherever we have screens, there will be invisible radiations which we have to be very careful about. Now let me say about stages of life, a continuum. Life is a long journey. Now I just divide into 3 phases. The first phase, all of us would say that maybe I am hailing from bad circumstances. Maybe suddenly Japanese people and all, they say very frequently some earthquake take place, some disaster take place and we lost everything. So our background may be very bad or worse. We would have hailed from such background. But still, if we have determination, we could transform this bad circumstance into this way. Good circumstance or better or best or excellent or effective circumstance. So from bad to effective stage we should grow if we have determination. And the third part is great and significant and relevant. We, each one of us, or called to be great in our life. We have to lead a significant life. We have to play a significant role in our life. Now, the last step in the life's continuum is called relevant. We have to stand or sit and reflect over whether we are relevant, whether the knowledge and the skills that we possess today are enough or relevant to meet this competitive world. We have to deeply think about, and especially currently the world knowledge is dominated by artificial intelligence. The existing information in the globe is available at fingertips using mobile. You can access to any information or anything. If you ask AI, it just brings in seconds the information what you sought for. And suppose any designs, any photograph, right now, architectural engineers, they are so frightened that their roles will be stolen by this AI. The music directors, the cine directors, or any top leading occupational engineers or environmental, they are all frightened that AI would intrude into their life and take away the jobs available. So whether the knowledge and the skills that we possess is relevant or not, we need to really think about. If we feel that our knowledge, the existing knowledge and the skills what we possess are outdated to be successful in the current stage, then we have to seriously think about and explore which areas of knowledge would support our career, which type of skills would be support our career to be successful. So we have to explore and acquire such skills and knowledge. Only then we can be successful and we can become great. So we need not be panic with the intrusion of AI. It has made our searching time reduced, and it has made us to get accessible to all sorts of information. So we have to compete. We must learn to live competitively. So for that, there is a quotation coming from Madame Curie itself. She says, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. AI has come and it will take away all our jobs. We need not worry. In life, in this universe, lot of possibilities are there. Only thing, we need to understand them, how Madame Curie understood radioactivity and brought greater contribution by discovering lot of isotopes, and her study, her research inspired many, and we have lot of applications of radioactivity in our daily life. So nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. So let us take this caption as a life learning and begin to work. And let me wind up this talk with a simple quotation that by W Health Organization says that the new definition of health is enthusiasm to work and enthusiasm to be compassionate. Now, currently, most of us have everything. Access to knowledge, access to learn, access to acquire skills. But the only missing element is we lack enthusiasm. If enthusiasm is not there, then we become a sick person only. So let us kill the fears and fill our minds with enthusiasm, the most essential ingredient that is needed for life. Then we will definitely excel in life like Madame Mary Curie. Thank you, one and all. Let us meet again in another topic. Thank you.